to the speakers. When you hear the music, you know what that means. All right, so next I think we have Dynata. Also, quick note for the jury, if you're not sure how many points, it's written on the back what each category goes up to.
Brad. Okay, thank you all for coming out here. I'm really excited to start an initiative that I call Smart Advertising at Work. Dynata took the data from Wonderman, Carrefour, Google to help try and solve this problem that we already talked about. We want to move that offline catalog to the digital space to reduce waste, and we also want to drive more sales and traffic into the stores. Those are the goals that we're trying to accomplish. Well, we first saw the data and we're like, this is a marketing mix model. That's really easy. Unfortunately, it's not really that easy. You hit some twists and turns where you run out of computing power, you realize some things are not scalable, you realize that, you know what, we have a lot of interactions that don't work or collinearity in our variables that don't give us good don't give us good predictions. Then you hit missing predicting data. We didn't have our 2019 media spend. So finally, we looked at data traps that occurred and the different types of geographic codings. We were not familiar with the French iris system. So in the end, this is what we used. We have sales and promotional sales, which is what we are trying to predict. Our random effect is the iris with nested inside of stores. So those are the two things that we want to extend to others. And then we had a lot of different fixed effects that had an effect. Those are the things that most of the time you can change. Time is the one thing you probably can't change, though. When you look at which ones are most effective, we like that, hey, spending more on media is actually boosting sales. It's a big predictor in the model. Overall, the sales are going up over time, which is great for Carrefour. And then you can see that the TV and catalog media spends are really important predictors. And then as you go down, the digital and impressions and some of the other segmentations start to come out. I would approach these models with a really important caution. Just because sales go up when you spend more media doesn't mean that your spend actually caused the sales. We have a chicken and egg problem, right? Did you make more money by spending more on advertising, or did you know it's going to be a busy time and thus spend more money? It's really hard to tie that apart. Given that, here are the correlations that we would use to reduce our catalog spend. The places in red, such as Dijon, Besançon, and sorry, I do not know the French names very well. Magny-Cours and Chalon-sur-Saône, or places that we would reduce our catalog footprint and force. In other places, we would maintain or even increase, and that's where it's very highly correlated. Dole and Vesoul are those places, the dark green places, or where we would keep the catalogs in force. And most importantly, because we know that this is just correlations, we need to be monitoring these campaigns on an ongoing basis and even do A/B testing to see, does it really have the impact that we're hoping? And we want to look at the areas outside of where the catalog distribution is right now. Well, this tells you where you want to not send as many catalogs. There's a language barrier and an age barrier. The immigrant population and the foreigner population don't necessarily respond well to a French catalog, is my guess. And the second one is the younger people. Both males and females don't respond as often to the offline mail catalog. Now let's look at the digital. We recommend an increase into digital spend. And when you increase your digital spend, the first thing you want to do is look at what's working right now. That's the green. We want to move the red ones, which are of lower effectiveness, to the green ones where it's most effective. Now, given this, you also want to make sure that it's not more expensive. So you need to look at your costs, but hopefully you can create a lot of cost savings as well as revenue production by moving your digital spend from the red areas to the green areas. Once again, we looked at the NC data for those places where the campaigns were more effective, and we see the exact same results. Where you have more foreigners or more immigrants, the digital campaigns are actually working really well. In fact, you have 7% as opposed to almost 4% of the immigrant population. And those are the ones where the digital campaigns work. Maybe it's because you have automatic language translations. And also, unsurprisingly, it's the young people. It's areas where there are young people where the digital campaigns are having more force. So then we started to look at the Google search data. Because we didn't have a lot of digital spend, we said, well, let's look at the Google search. If you don't know historically how well the spend is going, where there's latent interest, people searching for your products, that's probably a good next place to go. Once again, positive correlations in Dijon, Dole, and I'm going to miss this middle one. And also, more importantly, there's a bunch of white space there. That's where we have very relatively little history. So this data won't help in those areas, so that's where we'll turn to our third data set. And it does find one area down there in Chalon-sur-Saône, which also said, hey, this is probably not where you want to spend your digital media, even if you haven't tried a campaign there. That leads us to the Wonderman data, which is great because it's across pretty much the whole area. And what we looked at the Wonderman data is the percent of digital spend in each of those from actual transactions that people had been making. So we don't know from our historical, and we don't know from the others. This can help us indicate where to go. Lastly, we have a current app. And we recommend using that app to send out those promotions to help diversify and target personalized ads to the consumers. And those are 3 things that you should do. Decrease your spend with the catalogs, increase the digital spend, and extend that to new areas. And lastly, use that loyalty rewards program that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward.